Hi ladies, welcome to Womanhood London, our ever-growing tribe. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight we are doing our podcast number 4 in our first series, and we're talking about, women in careers and business women, female entrepreneurs, and we just kind of wanted to speak to everybody about, how you started, where you're at, what you're doing, you're happy doing what you want to do.
Introduce ourselves.
We'll introduce ourselves. My name is Nicole and this is Monique. And this is Womanhood London, where real women discuss real topics. Yeah.
Welcome.
Welcome. Right, so I'll start talking a little bit about myself and then you can have a go. So career-wise, I think I probably started really, really late, and that's because I had children really early. So I had my first daughter when I was 18. That's her. And I had my second child at 24, and that was kind of it. And then I sort of was, at that point in my life, I was working for a French company, a beauty company. I was living in Copenhagen. I had these 2 little children, and for me, it was just about paying the rent and getting food on the table. As time went on, I moved into the airlines and I was cabin crew, and although it was completely mental trying to get that to fit around being a single mum, I did it and I really enjoyed it, but I kept feeling like I had so much more to give. So for me, it was a late kind of debut at going to university. So I went to university, I did my undergraduate degree, and then I thought, do you know what? I had no idea I was really smart. So I thought, I'll apply to see if I can get a scholarship for a master's, and I did. I got the scholarship and I went on and I did my master's degree, and that was about 3 years ago now, and I came out of the master's degree and I kind of got one of the jobs that I was hoping to get. And that was it really. That was kind of my journey into making a career for myself, and always kind of thinking that although I'd become a mum at a really young age and all the stigma that came with it, I was like refusing to kind of believe it or delve into it. I was like not going to be your stereotypical 18-year-old single mum. And I think, that's kind of how my journey went into finding what I wanted to do. Although I'm probably not quite there yet, I've got lots to learn, and there's loads of different things now that I'm kind of like becoming of age, that I'm kind of starting to think like, actually in my everyday I would like to do this, not this, work from home when it suits me. There's loads of places, there's lots of things that I want to do for myself, but it's kind of figuring out how to tie that into, also having a career. Yeah.
I had a similar journey as Nicole, actually. I think that's our connection. I had my son when I was 19, 20. So the path that I chose to go down, which was like music, fashion, I kind of swerved that because I didn't think it was a stable career with a child. And I went into dentistry, which I thought, okay, I know I can definitely earn money. I didn't know it was going to be, so I started off as a dental nurse, and I was aiming to get to a dental hygienist, which I am now, but I didn't realise it was going to be tough, and it was hard. So, it wasn't really just to put, I was actually thinking of something that will not only put food on the table, but it can support us as, me and my child at the time. And that I just wouldn't have to, maybe, I wouldn't say grow up the way I did, but I know my mum, it wasn't a career, so I wanted to change and actually have a career, but it wasn't the path that I initially wanted. I still have a love for it because I'm quite a creative person, and so in dentistry I can't really use my creative spice that I have in me, which I feel like Womanhood London that we're in now is allowing me to do that, and it feels so good. But I think our paths are similar, and it was really hard. And I think what I've spoken about with Nicole especially, is just that women helping other women to get to where you're at. And I know it was, even coming into being a dental hygienist, I didn't feel that there were people, oh yeah, you should do it, you should really do it, but no one told me how to do it. I remember my personal statement, I had to write it by myself, and it was tough because I had a few knockbacks before I even got to you know, the actual course. I think it was about four or 5 years until I actually got onto the dental course, and it was really disheartening every year when I wasn't getting on. I was literally tears, my cousin can tell you. And I remember there was a moment, I think it was the 3rd year when I was trying. It was actually a girl here for on our course, Nina. I don't know if you remember her. Yeah, so Nina, she was interested in doing the dental hygiene, and she asked for my help because I had applied before, and I always got to interview stage, but I never got any further. And so I was like, okay, yeah, this is my personal profile, have a look. And she looked, and it helped her. The next year, she got on and I didn't. And you know what? I didn't feel, oh my God, I wasn't upset. I was upset because I didn't get on, but I was still happy that I helped another woman get on. And at the time, I didn't think of it as, you know, a woman helping another woman. I just was being me, and she felt so bad because I helped her with her personal statement and everything. But at the same time, she did the interview. You know, we both had separate interviews, but that was an example of that I didn't care. I still helped her regardless, and I still talk to her to this day. And look, maybe how many years later I then got on, and I just think maybe that wasn't my time. That's all it was. And if I had not had helped her, I may have not been there. It might have been like, you know, almost a backlash, like almost a test from God that if I didn't help her, maybe I wouldn't be a dental hygienist today. So I just think there's a lot of women. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's competition or just a fear that someone's going to do better than them.
Well, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we, about the female pride.
Yeah.
It's different to male pride, but it's still there, and it 100% exists, especially in things like, you know, like we're on this constant competition, like, you know, motherhood, careers, you know, and we're in this time where it's like important to have it all. Like you've got to be able to do everything. So even like with I think it's just like women aren't always, well, I don't think we're even schooled to help each other.
No.
Like it's even in the home and that kind of thing. It's like, you know, we've got to do for ourselves, we've got to get our own education. Like, I don't think at any point, whereas I always feel like, I might be wrong, but I always feel like with regards to boys when they grow up, there's like a lot more team sports, there's a lot more
like
everything. It's like my
like
boys,
that,
it's this, it's like, yeah, I'll help you, don't worry. Like we're completely different in the way that we grow up, whereas women, it's more like, girl, you need to understand that you need to be able to get for yourself and you need to get educated because no one's going to do for you, and and you kind of grow up almost believing that you've got to follow a selfish path, otherwise you won't make it. And I think that's a bit dangerous to some extent because you're just not there and opening up paths for other people.
My history is I am an estate agent, and I have been for the last 11 years. Wasn't something I ever planned on doing, kind of fell into it. So I was in retail before that, and I got bored of retail because it was just boring. And then I had an opportunity to be an estate agent, and I was like, okay, let me try, see what that was about. Now, I'm a bit nosy, so I liked it because I like to look around people's houses. So I found that interesting. And then I liked to be able to sell people their so-called perfect house as well. So I've been in the industry for the last 10 years. And again, in the beginning, like I say, I didn't see that as a career for me. It was just a job at the time. I think I was 22. So still quite young. I was like, yeah, paid, it got me money. I was bougie gang back then. Literally, like I thought I was the shit because it allowed me to get a brand new car. It allowed me to just have money. I was like, Mum, you don't need to give me nothing. I can do for me now. And then I had my son. And I was like, oh shit, life's gonna change. But in that moment, I think when I fell pregnant with Kane, I think that's when reality hit me. Like, what are you actually doing with your life? How are you going to provide for this child? And similarly to what you were saying, Nicole, you do have this thing of, you now need to get your life right because everything rests on you. I'm still with my partner to this day, so we are still together. But I think because I witnessed my mum doing everything in my household, I kind of felt like, right, you've got to pull up socks and now you need to run your ship. Similarly with my grandmother as well, on my dad's side, she ran ship. She had 9 kids, but she ran ship. So I think for me, the mentality was, you need a career, you need money, you need to sort your life out. So I was like, right. So from there on, I was just literally make as much money as you can before you go into maternity. I went back to work. Kane was only 7 months old. And again, in my mind, it was, well, I'm the money maker. I need to go and get this money. My partner was supporting us. But personally, for me, again, like you were saying, we've got to do it all. I just felt like I needed to contribute more than just being a mum. Do you feel
we have to do it all?
I don't know whether it's just something inside us that makes us feel like we have to do it all, because we probably don't. And I get told a lot of the times, let me help you. Like, let me help you. And I don't mind the help, but I don't like to ask for it. And yeah, if I'm asking you for help, I am in serious need at that point. It's like, I'm actually drowning now, so actually I need to ask for help, but I will not ask until I get to that point.
Do you ask for help in regards to your career path? Because you don't just do estate, you do dancing too.
The estate agency thing was my bread and butter, basically, but again, it was never my passion, so I fell into it, and I enjoyed doing it, but it was never my passion, and dance was always passionate for me. So I'd been dancing since I was 12, and
She's
that was
good, by the way.
Thanks, babe. That was always my release. You're saying you're creative with the fashion. Some people like to sing. Some people like to make clothing. My thing was always dance. I was always interested in dance and how intricate my body can be and what positions I can do and how I can interpret my emotions through movement, basically. So I love music, all genres. I love music. And if it's got a good beat, I'm vibes in. If music's on, I can't sit still. I get told a full time sit still, and I'm like, yeah, but how? I don't understand. There's just something in me that moves me and makes me want to. And then I start visualizing things. I'm like, oh yeah, that would look good. I'm gonna try that, and it excites me. So I know personally, for me, that's my passion. So like I said, I've been dancing since I was 12. Attended loads of different dance schools, and then in what year are we now? 2019. So about 15 years ago, my sister and I decided to set up our own dance classes, which again, like I said, has been running for the last 15 years. And I was telling the ladies earlier that it's grown so much and we've seen so many kids come through. When we first started it, again, we just wanted an outlet because we were always having to travel to South London to go to dance. There was nothing in West. And we were like, why are we spending all our money on travel to go pay these people when actually we're skillful enough to do it ourselves? So we approached Hounslow Youth Service and they were like, yeah, it sounds great. And we set up a dance school under the youth service. And it was just amazing to see all different backgrounds come into the classes and being able to put everyone together and everyone being able to feel a part of something through this movement. And like I say, the kids came, they some of them were 2 left foot. But it happens, but you've got to teach. But it was nice to see them go on to go and audition for the bigger dance groups, so Peridot, Diversity. A lot of those kids came from us, and we would push them out to go and audition. So it was a way of giving back to the community, teaching these kids, and that's when I think I found my passion. And it was nice that although it didn't pay, it paid inside, if that made sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And I think that's what made me continue doing it. We basically host 3 shows a year for the kids, so they've got something to work towards as well, because we felt it was really important for them to be able to showcase their talent to their friends and family, and not just be something that they just do weekly and then that's it. We wanted them to know that you have to work hard and instill some disciplines in them. And there's little things I think that we all learn in our household about behaviours, and there was a lot of kids that were single children, so they didn't know how to share and they didn't really know how to be a part of something. But coming to class, it was like, actually, these are my sisters and my brothers within another dimension, and you walk through that door, you're in my house now. This is how we operate as a family, and these are our rules. And we'd have parents telling us they've changed so much and we've seen them grow. And I was really touched by it, especially at the end of the show. You'd have parents standing up and giving speeches about me and my sister and saying, we love what you guys are doing. And that really touched me. Then I was like, do you know what? We need to push this again. So then I opened up an adults class, and I invited the parents of the children to attend those classes, because although we were helping their children, I felt like they also needed an outlet. because no one really knows what they're going through in their lives. And, you know, yes, it's great and it's beautiful to see your children, but again, like Nicole was saying, we don't get taught anything as adults. And I was like, people always ask me, how do you do this? You do so much. You've got a child, you've got a full-time job, like, but you still have time for this. You still go out with your friends. Like, how do you do it all? And I'm just like, I don't know. Honestly, I honestly don't know. But I just do what I enjoy, and I like to give energy to things that will give energy back. Like, I'm all about vibration. So when the parents then started coming to classes, originally it was just, they just wanted to do classes just to, you know, have something to do as well. But then when they then started getting support from their children, where their children were actually proud of them, it was another level, because they were like, oh, actually, I don't know what changed in their mind, but it then became, I'm actually a role model for my child. And as a parent, you know that, but you just kind of go day by day doing what you need to do and what you feel is best for your child. But actually your child is looking up to you and looking at what you're personally doing as well. So when they then started joining the classes and we had the shows, it was really beautiful to see like parents and their children doing something together, because I also feel like that's something that's missing in our communities as well. Like, we not palm our kids off, but we send our children out to do social clubs and stuff, but we actually don't do anything together unless we're like doing a family holiday, let's say, or, you know, the half term, that's when we do something. There's never actually something that's weekly and consistent where parent and child can do something that they both enjoy. So that was, again, something there. And then I was like, okay, so I've got all these mothers that are here and they're really enjoying themselves, they're getting comfortable, but we're hearing conversations in class where they're like, you know, oh, my husband this, my husband that, or I need a man. That's the common one. And I'm like, so why can't you get a man? I don't understand, because you're beautiful. But these aren't things that they're used to hearing. So then I set up a heels class. And it was just, I just wanted to create a safe space for females where there's no judgment. They can feel sexy within themselves. So get them heels on, because everyone knows when you put on them pair of heels and you start walking, you feel a certain way. And the first class, I think, for me was the best because, one, I didn't expect the turnout that I got, and it was literally on a whim. I was planning it, and I kept planning it and planning it. And my sister was like, why do you keep planning? Just do it. And I was like, well, I'm just going to do it. And I put a date out, and it was only like maybe 10 days notice. And I had 15 females show up, and a lot of them I didn't know. So 5 I knew, the other 10 I didn't. And they brought friends with them. So I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, okay, shit, I better sort my life out. But it was just really nice to, again, be in a group of females where everyone has their own story, but everyone is actually feeling the same. Everyone has this, like, everyone's got their inner Beyonce, but nobody shows it. Do you know what I mean? So it was nice to see them come, and they were all really shy and coy when we first started, and I kind of did like a session just to introduce everyone just to be a bit silly, just to get everyone relaxed and comfortable in that space, and make it clear and known to say, this is a safe space. This is where you can be you. No one's sexy is the same. Everyone's sexy is different. No one's beautiful is the same. Everyone's beautiful is different. Like, I just want you to feel the music and do what comes naturally. So yes, there is choreography, but it's not very intricate. And I do that on purpose. So like, I want people to just be able to go, oh, do you know what I mean? Like, and just feel it, rather than it's a 1 and it's a 2. No, it's not about that. It was really just about creating that safe space and making people bring their sexy back, you know, and feel confident in themselves. And I think as career women and as business women, we kind of put our suits on as well. And we feel like, you know, we have to look and be a certain way in order to get ahead. And we sometimes lose the softness of a woman.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself employed or self-employed then?
Bit of both.
So
I am self-employed, so my dance stuff is all self-employed, but obviously the corporate is with the estate agency.
How many people are employed?
Oh, I'm not. What am I doing?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Self-employed? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But I mean, even in the corporate world, with estate agency, it's very male dominated, especially to get to the top. And I think that's where I became quite rigid, because I was like, I have to be like boss bitch almost in order to get ahead and to match a man. But within that journey, I kind of found in myself, actually, being a female was my unique selling point. I had the knowledge and the skill set to do what the men were doing, but I didn't need to be a man as such in order to get where I needed to get to. And because I've got a young looking face as well, people assumed I was younger than I was. And I'd be like, that's fine, you take that. When I open my mouth, you're going to know. Okay. And I had to kind of take that assertiveness in order to be respected. So it was hard for me, not hard, but it was a transition for me to know, okay, corporate world, put my corporate hat on. This is how I need to behave. This is how I am. But in the same time, I understand that there's women out there that are probably going through the same stuff that I'm going through, and that I can now create a safe space for us to be able to talk about that and express that, but just through a different form.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I like that.
That's my story.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't even clap. No, because you mentioned something about putting your uniform on. So when you're doing that, are you not yourself as a woman in that business environment then?
I'm not.
Neither am I. That's what I was
I
going to
think,
say.
I'm 100%
I think it's
not.
just headspace. I think I have to, and I mean, not so much now, but when I was trying to climb that ladder, I think I had to have words with myself. And I would have words with myself like, Shams, you ain't taking shit today. Like, no, when he says X, Y, and Z, you're going to say, well, I'll give you ABC, car. This ain't working today. Do you know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. But I knew that I had to be extra prepared and ready to be able to do that. Because I tell myself, you know, if there's a position that you want, what does that position look like? And what type of person do you need to be in that position? And are you ready to handle that? If any of my answers to that was no, you better pipe down and sit down. And then I'd reflect.
It's so weird because you spoke about it being in your career being very male dominated, where in our career, I would say it's predominantly women. And it was so, I never forget, I was working in a practice where there was another hygienist. I was new, fresh, literally just come out of university. And I felt, because, I don't know, I worked on a different day to her, and because some of the patients that she was seeing liked me, I felt she was being a bit bitchy. And so I'm quite OCD, so the room was always spick and span. I always left everything nice and how she liked it, but probably the extra. But she always had something to say, and it used to really piss me off. Because I used to think, you have your day is full. I'm not even bothering. I'm not bothering your money. You're earning your money. I'm here trying to build my patient clientele, and yet rather than leave a note, hi Monique, hope you're doing well, wishing you all the best on your new. It was just more bitchy stuff, and I just thought, oh my god. So yeah, as much as people say about being in a male dominant career, with women, it's a problem sometimes. Sorry.
I think it's really hard to be in a male-dominated career, but I don't think you have to be tough all the time, because that's what men do. They compete. It's like a pissing contest. And that's a very valuable thing that I learned in my career, that actually being my authentic self and maybe taking a bit longer to actually answer a question or like submit that piece of work that somebody else, some man in the business is also submitting and we're competing. Actually believing in what I'm doing and just putting everything into that and just taking that moment to actually reread it, practice it, reflect. Is this authentic? Is this who I really am? Is this what I think is right? I think that makes you stand out a lot more as a woman than just doing the ordinary, like, oh, I've got to put on my suit and I have to behave a certain way. I have to say that I am fortunate enough that I work somewhere, which is, yes, it's a corporation now. I work for Eventbrite. I come from a music production and tour management background. So I've always worked on the road. My parents have worked in music. So I kind of like was born into that. I grew up in Trinidad, and my mom is German, my dad is Trini. And it was always just like traveling around, never being in one spot. And I just instantly like fell into that as well, and just thought, all right, I have to work in the creative sector because I thought it was so cool. And I just felt like I had to be that creative. I had to deliver. And it probably took me till like my mid-20s to realize that that's actually not who I am. Like, I have these contacts through my parents, and I could probably work in it for ever if I wanted to. But I don't want to be around those people. I don't want to do that. That's just not who I am. And I think when I got the job at Eventbrite, which I actually didn't even want, which is funny, I just thought, oh, I'm actually enabling creative people rather than just doing something creative. And I think that's where I found out, like, okay, you know, I can be who I am, but I could still work in the creative sector, and I could still organize the chaos because I'm really good at organizing. And I think the thing that helps at my job is having a female CEO who really believes in empowering females.
That's really good.
That's amazing.
But I have to say that I've still, I've still come across so much sexism in my job. But it's so good to know that you have someone at the very top who doesn't stand for it. And that kind of gives you that confidence of just being like, no, this isn't right. I'm going to call you out on this. And that this is not going to happen again. And like, yeah, you might be like 5 levels my senior, but this is not okay. It's not okay. And it's not going to happen again. So yeah, I don't think you have to be suited and booted. It depends on the industry. I mean, you work in a totally different industry to me, but I really feel very, I feel like if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, I'd probably be self-employed. But I do feel like I could be myself at work, and I don't have to be, you know, on my absolute presentable A game every day. You know, I have my off days, so does everybody else. But like when I have my A days, like I bring 150%, and nobody's kind of judging me if I take a day working from home or like if I do my own thing, because we all kind of believe in the authenticity of each other's work and what we deliver. So yeah, that's kind of my story.
Yeah, I like that.
He's going to say something soon.
No, I was just saying that it was quite rare not having a female head or a female boss that's not quite hard on you.
Oh, you're the opposite, aren't you?
Well,
Do you
no,
think?
mine's female and we can't sit down. We can't even breathe. And every day I've got a story to tell with this woman.
Yeah.
But I think if we didn't have that, I know me. Even though I love my job, I think I've done the whole estate agents in when I was younger. I took the mick. I'd done the dental nursing. It worked for me. So yeah, I tried all that, but then I think my calling was in schools. I'm a TLA in a school, so I work with small 4 and 5 year olds, but I love it. So my head, if I didn't probably like my job, I'd say I would be taking days off. But she's just a hard woman to please. It could be
but
anything.
do you think she supports you as another woman in your field? Is she supportive? Is she do they give you information to progress? These are the things that I don't...
She does give information to progress. However, to show, like, you know, sometimes you need a bit of an uplifter in the work.
You need to feel
know,
motivated.
workplaces.
Yeah.
Like someone needs to bring the motivation.
Exactly.
That's what
That's
your
it.
leader's
Tough
there
love's
for.
not always the way, but she'll show it in different kind of ways. Just on an off chance, she'll just be walking through and you've done something like last week, and she'll be like, "Oh, well done, Miss Crawford, for that." Straight face, done. And we're like, okay, you know, you got to take that and really run with it with her, because you don't get that from her. I mean, you're just about to get a morning. So I've got a morning now because I decided to play her at her own game. But yeah, but it's hard. It's hard. I've done the whole male dominated workplace as well. I prefer, but then I get along. I can banter back, and so that doesn't faze me. But yeah, when you've got a woman, and she is strong, she does run her ship tight. And if she wasn't probably like that, then everyone would take the mick, and that's probably why our school is outstanding. But it is just hard. She just needs to soften. She hasn't got people skills either.
Well, there's some critique for her. There you go. Bit of feedback for you, miss.
But yeah, I think you can, back to can you do both? Yeah, 100%. I agree with what you were saying with the whole, you've got that in you where you just want to do all yourself. Yes, you've got the support at home, but you just got that drive where you just want to do it anyway, regardless. And we have loads of arguments. oh, just take this, just take that, but I'm just going to end up putting it back in the house, so there's no point. So, you know, it just don't bother. I'll just do. And, you know, I think that because we're like that, sometimes you can offend your partner by doing that, because some partners that look at it as they're the male figure they want to bring in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the world has shifted for females.
It has
massively.
But if you got
and
that
we
old
might be the
school,
first, second generation.
Yeah, it hasn't.
It's not shifted for them at all. But for us, there's been this huge shift from like my mum was a stay-at-home mum. She did try to do different things and do some working, but it was my dad that predominantly brought home the money, and who started on the very, very bottom step of the ladder, and he climbed all the way to the top. So like, and I think that's where like I kind of got this like, the ambitious side of myself from was that, you know, I watched my dad, he was a baggage boy, loading bags onto, you know, a belt at an airport, and then all of a sudden, you know, we travelled the world, and he was director of one of the biggest airlines in the world, but he did that all by himself, and like, but I also saw the sacrifice he made because of it. And I think for me, it's always this balance of like, as a woman, I don't actually feel I can make as many sacrifices as he's made, because we never saw him. And when we did see him, he was miserable. You know what I mean? He was so pissed off all the time. He either needed a nap or quiet. Yeah. Like those were the two things that was needed. That was it, you know.
Like little things, like for instance, like if you've got, you know, flat packs and that, some girls are quite hands-on with doing that, and that's me. I'll just get on and do it. If I've said, oh, could you do it, like just to give that, you know, them that right of, I suppose, building and stuff, but I'd end up just doing it. See, and you can offend them.
Yeah, say on film the truth. It's like, I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. My setup is completely different to yours. Both my parents worked, my mum and my dad. They both equally did things in the home, cooked and cleaned. And it, for me, I just think it just takes off the pressure and the load. I mean, like I said, my parents it wasn't a career for them, so it's a bit different. But I want my career and I want to be at home, but I don't want it all. I don't want to do it all by myself, and I don't think we can do it all at once. Like for me, it was definitely a stage in my life. Obviously, I had children quite young, so we were mature students. So we went back to uni at a very older, not old.
Wouldn't you say? I would say old, but wouldn't you say that because you did that? Like I definitely felt that. Obviously, going back, it was completely different. So I'm coming back in, and everyone else is like 21 and so preoccupied with everything else. And I'm like, so they may know how to do Harvard referencing, however, I'm bringing the power. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was the only one who actually really, really, really wanted to succeed. Not only did I want to succeed, I wanted to be the top of the class. So for me, it was like effort over natural sort of intelligence. So they might have been really, really good at what they were doing, but I think I came here because I wanted to come here, so therefore I was going to succeed.
Because if we failed, we let off the course. There was no...
Yeah.
It was harsh. Like,
were they all mature though?
No.
It was a good mix?
It was a good mix,
okay.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I was the only oldie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, everyone else
Don't
was
call
like...
yourself an oldie.
I know, but they were all like really young. They were like fresh out of college into uni. Yeah.
Sorry, Tiff, what were you going to say? You were saying...
Just that I don't like flat pack.
Yeah.
And that's why I got married.
Yeah.
And I like earning my own money. I like my life. I love my job. But I've been looking after the kids and I've been to work. I don't want to build that.
Are you self-employed now? No?
No, I'm employed.
Okay.
A slightly crazy lady. But this one, Kira, who I work with, would go through hell and high water to build that flat pack herself. We argue about this daily, don't we?
I like it.
I don't get it. Like, if you have someone else who will do something for you, why would you not get them to do that?
But what if you didn't? So that's my point. Chris had
I'd
taken
call my
7
dad.
hours to build that flat back thing that I could build in 45 minutes. So why would I not do it? Like, I can't watch him get each little screw out and put them all next to each other and then get each other bit out and then, oh, it's the wrong way round. I could have built that thing hours ago.
But don't you think you're taking away then the masculine...
I think if you spoke to Chris, he wouldn't mind at all, actually. He's just... and I do want to do it. And I think that is the balance that we're always trying to get, is it shouldn't be men should do that thing and women should do that thing. We should find a way to work together so we all get to do what we want to do.
And I know I can do it. I choose not to. Yeah, I don't have time for flatback in my life. I don't.
Why is it like the man must be able to do the flat pack, or the woman can't do the flat pack, or like the woman can do the flat pack quicker, so maybe she should do it, or the man can maybe do it so it lasts longer. I don't know. Like, if I do it, I know it's going to fall down in probably about 10 minutes, and if someone else does it, maybe it might last a little bit longer. But I think I'm quite traditional in my thinking. Like, I'm very much like, okay, like man goes to work, woman stays at home.
Is that how you were brought up?
I don't know, because my mum went to work, but she chose her job. She's a teaching assistant as well, but she chose that job because she got the time, like she finished at 3:00 in the afternoon, and she got the 6 weeks holidays, and she got time off for half terms and things like that. But then she still went out to work, and then, she was always there when we were at home, or my dad was always the one who was out working. But then my mum did do the working, and then she cooked, and then she took us out to sports or to doctor's appointments. Like, my dad didn't do any of that. Like, that was very much like my dad done work. Then he maybe came home, done loads of stuff with the house. Like, my mum never had to touch anything with the house. Like, the flat pack would be delivered at the door. My dad would do it before it even touches the ground. That's just what my dad's like. He can't sit down. Like, my mum would just be like, just sit down tonight. And he'd be like, no, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. So I think maybe that's where it's come from.
Sounds like they had an okay balance,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
But
and I
it
think
was
you've got
traditional.
to ask yourself, traditional. But you've got to ask yourself, like, when you get into a relationship, if you're in a relationship, like, okay, I think you kind of got to feel the other person out. You've got to figure out, like, what am I like? What is he like? What do I bring to the table? What does he, like, are you the kind of man that needs to feel like a man's man, be able to do everything? My man can't build anything, but he knows a man that can. You know what I mean? Like, it will get built because I'm not doing it. I also don't like flat pack. And if he can't do it,
It's not getting done.
no, he's going to have to find someone that can do it, because he's got the phone book and he'll find someone that eventually can build the flat pack. But I think even in like kind of like in our careers as women, like I have these little like episodes where I'm like, I feel really sorry for men and like the stresses that they're under, because there's this society that's like so expectant of them. Then I'm like, hang on a minute.
On both,
I feel like the society that's expectant of us is insane, because we're not just expected to be well educated, have a career, like raise these kids, and of course the kids have got to be like, I don't know, vegan, wearing organic wool, all this shit. And it's a lot, and you've got to bring it to the table. No, sorry.
No disrespect to any vegans out there.
Sorry, girls. Keep going. But it's a lot to have to constantly, not only that, I feel like I've got to put it down in the bedroom, I've got to have a social life, got to have a girl gang, I've got to have, like social media, like on point, everything. And I'm thinking like, why am I feeling, like this, like a little bit of like this man guilt of like, God, like it's a lot of pressure, he's got to go out there, or he feels. But actually, when you flip it and look, the pressure that we put on ourselves is insane. And I keep thinking this.
That's the thing though, that we're putting it on ourselves.
We are putting it on ourselves.
But I feel like it is definitely, I think we put it on ourselves more so than it's put on us. So my partner tells me all the time, chill out. All the time. You're on 100 all the time. I'm like, shit needs to be done. I'm very like OCD on things.
Why do you think women do that more than men? Why do you think women feel like they have to always be at their A game and they have to like be a certain way?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think
I wish I did
witnessed
know,
my
actually.
mum just do stuff.
Good question.
Like nothing was ever too much for her. And she made everything look so easy, like raising children and working. So she had her career. My dad was kind of in between jobs. Was he really? And and so raising 3 kids, like my mum was, as far as I was concerned, she was the shit. Like she did everything. She was there for us when we needed her to be. Like so sports days, rounders, netball, gymnastics, all that stuff. She was there. Parents' evening, she was there. Like, my dad used to come to parents' evening, actually, give him that. But I don't ever feel like he was as involved as my mum was, although he was physically there. So I think with my sisters growing up watching my mum kind of do it all as well, I think we almost innately just follow fashion. We follow that trend. So when you then have your own family, you're like, right, here we go. Like, I now need to be my mum. And like I say, because my grandmother was exactly the same, obviously it's just fallen down where it's just what happens in our family. Like, we just all crack on.
Interesting though that we do. I keep trying to make, like the origami ducks out of, serviettes that my mum was doing. I was like, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
Do you know what? I actually had a test when I was doing my dental hygiene. That was a test. We had to actually make an origami duck, and it was
That's ridiculous.
The test. No, because the test was I passed. The test was how calm you were. And there were women at that table that was getting so frustrated with not getting it right.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I, as much as I say I learned from it, I didn't learn from it because I knew I had to be calm. I was calm at the time. But going back to what you said is why do you think we're like this? Yeah. I think for me at the time, so I've completely changed it around now. It was a fear of failure. Yeah. It was a fear of not being successful. Especially for, I don't
almost
know,
like you don't measure up.
Yeah, I don't know if you felt this as well, Nika, but I felt when I had my son, I felt the world was watching me, and I felt the pressure. I felt especially, people might have looked at my mum because my mum was a young mum as well, and your daughter's a young mum. She's going to be, I just thought it was a pressure of other people. I'm not saying I did it for other people, but I just felt I had to.
I definitely did in the beginning.
I had to, I was for my son. Me and my son was like, yeah.
No, I was like, you're not judging me.
Yeah, that was a thing.
I was so caught up in this, I knew what the stereotype was. I was even approached by a TV program and I was like, do you know what? I know what you're about. You just want to exploit young female mothers and kind of portray the worst of them. It's like, I'll be the worst person on there because I'm cooking organic food and she's wearing nothing but Benetton and you will not get shit out of me. Like, I'm never raising my voice at her while the cameras are on. It's not happening. So you lot can go back.
But I've changed. I've completely flipped it around and I thought it's all about timing. And I think it's everyone else's path. Everyone's path is different to mine.
100%.
And I'm no longer scared to ask for help. I think before I felt scared to say, actually, I'm a woman trying to be successful. I don't know how to do this. Can you help me? But now I don't care who you are. I'll go up in your DMs. And I'll say, even when it comes to Womanhood London, I feel that maybe we don't ask enough for help now. And whether women are, I feel that when we came about, I do feel people see us as a threat. Maybe.
Definitely.
But yeah, I don't know how you lot feel as women as well, but that's how I felt. And I just felt that I think we do put so much pressure, and I just like, you know what, it's God's time, not mine. And I now write things down. I give myself goals. I don't tell anyone else about my goals. It was monthly goals. My cousin now says do weekly goals. So I'm going to start giving myself weekly goals. If I don't make them, I don't make them, but I definitely do one out of how many I've written down. And I feel better for it, and I don't care about the rat race anymore. And that's what's made me so much calmer, and I don't stress about, crossing that line, because I'll cross it when it comes, and that's it. Definitely, it's definitely experience. It's definitely having, maybe talking to other people. I talk to my cousin Erica, who lives in LA a lot, and we talk about things like this. And we talk about the expectation that we put on ourselves, and maybe, just talking to her and maybe other women, it's just made me look at life a bit different, and I just don't care anymore about
Isn't that so liberating,
someone else that's
though,
bought their
not to
house.
care?
Do you know what I mean? I haven't, that's it.
Yeah. I think I always felt massive pressure, moving into a big city from a really small island, and or my grandmother and everybody was like, oh yeah, you're going there to make a career, and you're gonna have a good job, and you're gonna do this, you're not gonna do this creative shit like your parents, you're just gonna, And I got in and was going and going, and I think after like 12 years of just working my ass off, I had like a mental breakdown because I was pushing myself so hard. And I'm so grateful that happened, because that was my switch. That was
But
my
I think
like
everyone's breakdown, and you're all going to get them at some point in your life. They're your breakthroughs.
yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
That's
They're
really
breakthroughs. They're those moments where you really get to know yourself really well, and you kind of learn to appreciate everything that, you know, you have to offer to this world, versus like comparing everything you have to, you know, the next woman, you know, or thinking about like, oh, my friend so she's got a job that pays 3 times more than my job, or like whatever. I think that in itself is really liberating. But I still now look at like young girls who are growing up in big cities like London, who are, you know, watching people like Kim Kardashian, or like, sorry, but like I'm so sad that those people are role models for people.
She
And
has
people
gone
wanna-
back to do some law.
That's good for her, but like
No,
that young beautiful girls don't believe in their natural beauty anymore. They think they have to paste themselves with makeup. They think they have to do all these things, and they actually don't. I sound really old saying that, but like, it just makes me so sad, and in a way I see a certain bit of myself in that as well. Maybe when I was growing up, it was more about career rather than like putting on makeup, but like I definitely see that and think, gosh, you know, I wish I would know what to say or how to articulate what I'm feeling to kind of get through to someone earlier, and have them not, you know, spend so much time before they get to that point. But maybe we all have to spend that time, you know.
I definitely,
It's
sorry.
important. And I think, again, what I'm doing with the Hills class, because those women are basically building the next generation. And I think when I was young, my role models as females, my family. Do you know what I mean? It was my aunties, it was my mum, you know, and we had shows like The Cosby Show and Fresh Prince where you always saw families like together and connected, whereas I don't feel like you have that anymore. Like, that's not out there. Like, everything is social media dominated, and it's all these things. So for me, I'm like, okay, there's women that are my age, a bit younger, a bit older, but they are guiding our next generation. And that generation, yes, they are predominantly looking at social media and stuff, but it will all start with them at home as well, and what their parents are teaching them or showing them, and if they are actually even paying them any attention. Because right now, I mean, my friend's daughter I speak to quite often, and she's 15, and the amount of times she's told me about someone in her year group attempting suicide, and I'm like, you're 15.
crazy.
I don't understand.
But, yeah.
Like, how is a 15-year-old feeling like they have so much weight and pressure on their shoulders that actually they can't deal with life? What's happened here? So now both her parents go out to work, and they work full time, and you know, it's hard out there, so I get it. But they're not paying attention to their child, and they're leaving the system to raise her. And she doesn't have anyone else around her other than this other girl who's actually in an okay household. So from what she's seeing, based on what she's seen on TV, looking at herself in the mirror, all these thoughts that she's conjuring up, it's put her in a mental state where, is it worth it? So for me, I don't think it's just about the kids, it's about the parents as well, because like you said, we never got taught how to be parents. We never got taught how to instill confidence or make these girls look at themselves as beautiful. Like, children will say, oh, you're my mum, so you're going to say that. Yeah, but actually I want you to believe it, because I'm not going to say it just for saying its sake. I want you to believe it. Like, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in a household where the women in my family were quite dominant, you know, and it is a case of no one can't tell you nothing. Like, there was never any real talk about you had to look a certain way, or don't eat because you're going to get too big, or there was nothing of that. It's the fridge is open, go and yum what you want. Yeah, that's what it was. Do you know what I mean? And it was, and the women as well were always, they were never like flamboyant or anything, but they just appeared comfortable in their natural being. And I don't think we ever felt within our family that there was any pressure on us to behave or look or be a certain way. And I think that really helped me anyway, personally, growing up, because I got bullied at school sometimes because I was quite boisterous. I wasn't really a girly girl. And I was just like bothered. But I think that's because I knew I was going home to stability. And I think that's why I'm saying it's really important that as women we do reach out to each other, because we are raising other females as well, and it's important for them. And even through the dance as well, there's young girls, even now I'm mentoring twins, identical twins, so beautiful, and their parents are twins, but their parents were raised differently to how they're being raised. And although they know they're pretty, they think that they're only pretty because they're twins. So externally I'm beautiful, but I'm like, what about inside? Because that's where all the thoughts are going to come from. Like, where is that coming from? What outside of each other, what else do you have going on? What are your aspirations? And it's like, no one's ever asked them these questions. Do you know what I mean? No one's asking them that. Like, yeah, and it's sad. It's, you know, you've got some beautiful kids out there that just have no guidance, and it's like, who's taking responsibility for that?
But I feel like a lot of the time as women, we are, maybe even as guys, I don't know, but when it comes to like sort of going through, you know, your adolescence and then like becoming a woman and your career-wise, there isn't a lot of help along the way unless it's coming from someone within your family.
I was
So
actually going to
without-
ask, Mariah, sorry to put in
Yeah,
the
go
spot,
on.
babe, but I was going to, because I was thinking about the schools, going especially to my son's school, and my daughter's school. Like, my daughter's primary school is amazing. They really push them, and yeah, like even to the point at she's 10 and she's talking about going to Oxford. She's visited Oxford. She's gone to things that have like, what was it, We Movement, I think it's called. And she came away from that feeling so empowered as a woman as well. And I'm thinking, my God, my 10-year-old's actually inspiring me. But and I don't even want her to leave the primary school, because I'm scared that when she goes to a secondary school now, they're not going to push her even more. So I'm like, I have to be your guidance. I have to, like, even down to, she's talking about careers now, and I know that both my children are quite creative, and she's talking about a business now. And I always say to, like, when people say, oh, you know, when I'm older, I'm like, no, you can do this now. Like, you can start your career now. I could be that woman to empower you, and hopefully you have other women when you start to go up to empower you as well. And I don't think there's enough mentors at the school. I don't know about the boy, well, I can speak about the boys with my son, but definitely in the secondary school, I just don't think they're going to push her in that direction.
But I think even like as women, like, you do actually bear a responsibility, and sometimes, you know, you've got to look at yourself and kind of say, you know what, I mean, you can look at your close-knit circle, but you've got to look slightly wider than that.
Definitely.
Like, for example, now I've been doing it for a few years, but I lecture at a university. It's a university that I graduated from, and they were like, you know, do you want to come back and give some lectures? And I'm like, yeah, I love talking. So I go back there now and I give lectures, and it's really funny because I'm looking at these people who are sat in exactly the same position that I was, and I'm able to kind of like speak to them. And I always think, you know what, I'm going to share everything I know. Because let me tell you, like, tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you to the best of my ability what you need to do to get there. And if we haven't got enough time, message me on LinkedIn, like, here's my phone number, like, reach out, and I'll give you the answers to the best of my ability. And if I can't answer it, yeah, but that's it, like, it has to. Because if you're not giving anything back, you know, like, what can you expect to ever get?
Exactly.
Like, why can I can't expect to ever reach up and take someone's hand if I'm not willing to reach back and, like, pull someone along with me.
There was something that I watched, I think I sent it to you, and it was this woman that was talking about, she comes from these sessions, it's like, yeah, I feel good, this is great, I'm inspired. Okay, so now what do I do? And I get it, like, even in this session, I did want to speak a bit more about, for those that have their business, like, what books did you read? You know, did you go to see a mentor? Who was your mentor? What events did you go to? And things like that, just to share. I mean, there's books that I'm trying to think of the books that I read. Is it You're a Badass? Oh, yeah. And that is a really good book, because that helps. The Celestine Prophecy was more, it wasn't about being a woman and how to get to where you want. It was more on a spiritual, feel-good kind of thing, where books to actually, how did you make your website? Like, even in our Womanhood London, it's just about sharing these things so that we can all just help each other. There's even things that you might want to ask myself and Nicole, how we set this up, how we, you know, how to get full, whatever the case may be. Everyone's like, oh, I don't want to share that. It's just, it doesn't, like, we can all
but there's
eat.
the flip side of it. There's like, I don't want to share it, and there's I don't want to ask it.
Do you think?
Yeah,
I don't
I
care
think.
to ask.
Yeah, you don't. But a lot of people do. Yeah, like I'll have people who are like exactly what I just said. Like someone, like a girl reached out. She was like, "Oh, I don't usually like sort of send an anonymous message." I was like, "It's okay. Like, what can I do for you?" She's like, "Oh, you know, I'd really like to do the graduate scheme at your company." And I said, "Okay." I was like, "Are you ready for a really rough ride? Because I'm not going to lie to you. It's like one of the biggest graduate schemes in the country, and it is almost impossible to get on. But if you believe in yourself, then I believe in you, and I'll give you everything I know to the best of my ability, the tools that you're going to need, and then you're on your own, and it's how much you want it, because there's no difference between you and anyone else who's applying for it. But know that this is the real world, and there are models that sometimes you have to fit into. Like there's this square, and sometimes you do have to walk into it and like pretend that you fit into it, even if you don't feel like you do. Like I know in my work, I don't think, well, you said, and I felt envious, where you were like, I can just be myself. It's like, I cannot be myself at work. Like, no one likes Afro beats at VA. I'm not lying. Like, literally no one.
I feel like
I cannot be myself. Like,
I am
that's
with
just
you,
not happening.
because you know me and we've been
Yeah.
there. But especially being a dental hygienist, you've got to have your smiley face on 24/7. I could literally be on a heavy period and not in the mood, and I still could be like, hi, brushing twice a day.
Yeah.
Like, you can be like crying your eyes out.
Yeah, and you just got to suck it up, and you've just got to smile and put your face on. And that's when I say I can't be I'm on myself in the sense of talking to people. But if I'm having a really shit day, I've still got to smile. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to smile today.
Does that turn your day around?
Yeah, because sometimes you're forced out of your comfort zone. Like you come to work, you've had an argument with your boyfriend, you're fucking fuming, right? And then someone says something, and you walk into like a meeting, and they're like, "So let's strategize about, you know, like the organisation." And you're like, "I don't know. What if we just do this?" And everyone's like, "That was amazing." And you're like, "Oh, okay. Okay, it's all right. Fuck him. Let's move on with our day. I brought something to the table." But I think it's just like, I don't know, even with like the whole thing that we were talking about, like when I look at people that are self-employed, so I read this thing about people that are self-employed are optimistic. So you know, like there's the realist, which I would consider myself.
Optimistic. You know
Then
I
there's,
am.
yes, and then there's the optimist. And I
Yeah.
think, do you think like to be self-employed, you have to be optimistic? I think so.
But I didn't even.
I think you've got to also believe your own hype to a certain level,
I
and
do.
I'm not sure I'm the sort of person that always does. Like I second guess myself all the time. Whereas so that's where I draw the line. I'm like, you know what, you probably shouldn't start your own business because you think it's going to be shit, so it probably will be.
No, I'm
Yeah,
the opposite.
yeah. And I think that's what it takes to be self-employed. I think if you spoke to lots of people who like started their own thing, they are very optimistic.
I don't even think I even think about it. Like
Yeah,
even
there you
with
go.
Womanhood London, I was like, we're gonna make this work. This
Yeah,
is
but you know
great.
what I'm like? I'm like, okay, creative content has to be perfect. Like I'm the moniker of everything. Before anyone comes to the house, like the kids, they know what the drill is. It's like, right, okay, you're sweeping, you're hoovering, you're washing the floor, you're doing this, you're doing that. Right, we're going to polish. Okay, everyone, 1, 2, 3, go. And then you've got 2 hours and it has to be perfect. Like I'm such a perfectionist, and I find it really difficult to like just be like, oh no, it'll be fine. No, it won't, it's not fine.
A bit of both. So in my household, I'm very straight lines. Everything's neat, tidy. Like I don't like things being out of place. But in my creative side of it, I'm just like, nah, throw caution to the wind. Let's just try it. Let's see what happens. And I don't put that pressure on myself for it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And there's even sometimes like I will turn up to class and like I have an idea of what I want to do, but the choreo just wasn't there. So I will have in my mind what I want it to look like, but sometimes it's just a feeling, and I have to trust myself to just go with that feeling and trust that the females that attend the class they're supportive enough to know that's what we're doing today.
Yeah.
So sometimes it doesn't always have to be preempted or pre-choreographed or whatever. Sometimes, and I have to learn to accept that, because I used to be like, oh my God, I'm going to class, I don't know what I'm teaching. Like, I need at least the first 8. If I get the first 8, then I'm fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then sometimes, like that week, just nothing's come to me. Nothing has inspired me, and I don't want it to be forced. I don't want the sessions to feel fake. I don't want it to feel like I'm doing too much, because then that takes away from what the actual event's supposed to be. And I also feel like it's important for the females to see me in that state as well, where, you know, shit ain't always on lock. Like, this is real. This is what happens. It's okay to not have everything on lock 24/7.
Sorry to cut you. Do you know what I love about your one? Because yours is soul
to soul,
to
heels,
soul,
yeah.
and it's also London Bitty.
Yeah.
And so, if you lot don't know, so basically, Charmaine does her soul to soul, which is heels and dancing, and Mercedes, hey Mercedes, she does London Bitty, which I attend, and you're both doing the same thing, dancing, but you are helping each other. That is such a beautiful
100%.
thing. I wanted to say this to both of you before. Like, you're in the same field, it's not a competition for you two, and you post each other. You go to each other's events, and I'm just like, that is just so good.
But it's
so
important.
amazing.
I really feel like it's important, and I just feel like let's take hair care. There's not one brand of hair care. Like, you go into a shop, there's how many brands? You got Eco, you got Nixon, they're all promoting the same product. It's just going to be through choice which somebody prefers. It doesn't mean that Nixon shouldn't have done it or Eco shouldn't have done it because someone else is doing it. And that's how I feel about everything. Like, there is a seat at the table literally for everyone. Someone just needs to pull up a chair. And sometimes, like you're saying, you'll have people at the door looking in and second guessing themselves, like, should I walk into that? Is there space for me? I will push that door open and pull up the chair and say, sit down. Like, I'm not a threat to anyone.
I think we're all different. As much as we're all doing the same thing, we are all different. We all bring something different. So I'm a hygienist. The next hygienist is going to be completely different to me.
This is
but
it.
we're doing. It doesn't matter if we're doing the same job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But
That's what I
it.
love
I think
about
with me
you
and Merck's,
two.
like, I learn from Mercedes. Mercedes learns from me, and I think that's what brings us together. So yes, we're doing pretty much the same thing, but our styles are so different. Like, this girl, she's so like sensual and she's so slow, and I'm like, I'm like party girl, do you know what I mean? And Merck's is very like seductive, but we learn from each other, because she's like, I need a bit of party girl, and I'm like, I need to slow it down sometimes. So it's so nice. I will always empower someone else. If someone, like you're saying, if someone's got a question, just ask. Like, I'm not going to be like, well,
on the flip side, why do you think some women are reluctant to help other women?
I just think it's probably part of their journey.
Yeah.
Where whatever they've been through in life, whatever they're going through, whatever they have, and I think it all starts from that person. Like, and what you see out there as well, everything's always got to be competition. But I feel like competition can be healthy. Like, I'm quite competitive. I'm a very competitive person. I like to win, but I compete against myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
But it took me a while to learn that. You know, growing up in my family, like, my mum's one of 9 and my dad's one of 7 and I'm one of 5. So it's a big family. Like, you had to not compete as such, but you had to, like, literally you had to be you, but be the best version of you at all times. And I think, well, looking back on it, like, it didn't faze me because I didn't know any different, but it's actually helped me in my adult life, because I look at other things, or I look at when other people say things to me and I'm like, how, why? That doesn't make any sense. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, it's okay that someone else won. It's okay. Like, you don't have to win at everything all the time, as long as you know you did your best. Like, there's always room for improvement, yes, but learn from that person rather than be angry at them or angry with yourself because you didn't win. Ask them how they won. What did they do?
Sometimes, sorry to cut you, sometimes I feel that for some people's mentality is, well, no one helped me get where I was, so why should I help you?
While she waits for the mic. Yeah, so, like, I think also it's what you're just about to say. It's like, so I think that a powerful woman can lift other people, and someone who's, or a strong woman can lift other people, but someone who's truly, truly powerful can bring women together, you know?
I think you need to have an open mind and want to learn from others as well, because we don't always know it all. and somebody else, like you said, could be doing the same thing, but you could get a little different edge on it. But if you're secure within yourself and got an open mind, then yeah, you should be able to push other people. We should all eat together, like you said earlier.
You're doing your
my hampers.
hampers. Yeah.
I fell into that. So as well as me being obviously a TLA, I think, how did we get into it? My daughter's 10, and it was her at that age group. I'm not sure if you don't know. We're like, what should we get your friend? Because it was a birthday party that she was going to. It was a good friend. So it was like, all right, what should we get her? She was like, oh, Mum, she's into like, she's quite girly, and then she likes bath bombs, nail polish, and all that. So searching for something that contained everything, just couldn't find it. So I said, you know what, Sharon, we're just going to make it. And we did. Wrapped it up in the little cellophane, and I was like, oh, I might do this. So, and literally that's how it started. So then obviously to the drawing board, I've got a bit of Nicole in me, which is you're trying to think about how could you do it, this, that and the other and whatever. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. Just going to put it out there and just roll with it.
Did you ask for help?
In certain things, because my cousin does art, and she's got a lot of following with her art now, and also she follows a lot of people. So she was saying who and who to ask and who to follow, and she's seen this page and this one does it this way and whatever. And I don't care to ask, that don't bother me. So, and some people, will respond, some people won't. And, you know, and obviously to try and get it out there, I'm not on social media like that. So I don't really know how like the Instagrams work like that. But yeah, asking in that field.
You didn't ask me, I could have told you about the hashtags.
Yeah. Well, I've gathered that bit. Yeah, the hashtags go a long way. So, but yeah, it's good to ask and it's good to receive as well.
What I'm going to just quickly do, have you got anything that you want to like say at this point?
No.
Is there anything you're desperate to say, sitting there clapping to say? Okay, so I am actually just going to quickly reel off. I found 25 of the most influential women, and I looked for what their like couple of liners business advice was to other women in there. And these women are, I'm not going to tell you who everybody is, but they're like COO of Facebook, you know, they're very powerful women that have done really well. And if they had the opportunity to give anyone in this room a little bit of advice, this is what they would give. So the first one is lean in, speak out, have a voice for your organisation, and never ever use the word sorry. I thought that's interesting. Yeah. Especially in the UK, like that's like the second most used word. Like, oh, sorry, I'm so sorry, but sorry.
That's actually
thinking,
funny,
sorry.
because at work, when we have patients working, they say, don't say sorry, just say, thank you for waiting.
Yes, there you go.
I got told off so many times.
We don't say
Yeah.
sorry, we say
Don't.
thank you for
Thank you so
waiting.
much
For
for waiting. You've been waiting 10 minutes. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the most successful entrepreneurs are the optimistic, and it's actually a part of the job description, which is what I wanted to touch on to see, do we actually think that's true? But I think it is true. And then trying to do it all and expecting that it can be done exactly right is a total recipe for disappointment, which is probably that's one I need to take on board, because it definitely is. Concrete plans only weigh you down, which was quite interesting. Be fluid about what you're doing in life, be fluid about your journey. Growth and comfort do not coexist. I feel that quite vividly in my own sort of journey.
Growth and comfort
do not coexist. So if,
Yeah,
and
I
I
feel
actually
that.
get that,
That's
like
good.
uncomfortable feeling, and I don't know what it is, like something's just not right, or I'm not just quite happy, or something
you've just
about
gotta
it,
step out
and
of your
that's when I
comfort
know,
zone.
okay, it's ready to do something, it's to
Yeah.
go for something, or it's to start a plan or a journey,
I
or
think
take a step.
in that sense, it means not to sit comfortable.
No,
and
because
not
if
to
you're
be
sitting
scared
comfortably, you're not
to-
growing.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then we need to accept that we won't always make the right decisions, that will royally totally screw up sometimes, and that understanding that screwing up is a total part of your success. I thought that's quite good. I have a lot to learn. And then I think I've got some, has anyone got any advice they would give someone else?
Actually, it starts with an idea, with a plan of action, test it on 5 to 10 people, get feedback, review, start again. And that was your success cycle, because what will happen is that will naturally grow, and each time you get to that review bit, you review, you take on board what it was, you implement, you start again. And if you just keep doing that, you should by rights be successful because you're following that success cycle.
And that's whether you're
in anything.
In anything.
In
You don't have to
anything.
be an entrepreneur to do
No,
that at
within
all.
yourself, in your
Yeah.
current role, like whatever it is, if you're aiming for something, have an idea, plan it, test it, review, start again.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's a very nice
Yeah.
piece of advice. And then I read that we should all have 3 types of women in our life. The first one is a woman that you look up to and that you may follow. I mean, that could be anyone to you. Someone, it could be someone who's much older than you. And the second one is have a woman who you can walk beside in your life. And the third one is make sure that you have a woman that you can reach back to and pull up along the way. And I thought, okay, 100%, like that is actually really, really good advice. And not only that, also, I think to wrap it up completely for
Yeah,
this
you know, we always have a
episode,
hashtag.
you know, we always got a hashtag.
For those who come.
It's
Been
like
before.
your value,
Yeah.
think about it, like your value at the end of your day is not going to be what you know, it's going to be what you share. And if you're not willing to share something, you know, you've actually not brought anything to the table in the world of like women and, you know, the togetherness that we should have. So our hashtag for today, for this one, is just pull a woman up.
Love that.
Yeah, that's it. All right.
Hashtag it, girls.
Yeah, exactly. Hashtag it, pull a woman up. I think that's the message for
Yeah.
this one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.